Hello and welcome to WRUW-FM 91.1 Cleveland. I'm your host, Matt Hook. You are currently listening to A Different Drum, where the more you love music, the more music you love. Today I'm joined by someone who I've been a fan of for a long time, acoustic guitarist Keith Miller. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Matt. Glad to be here.
I first found Keith through Facebook, where he posts videos of his solo guitar arrangements of popular music, ranging from spirituals like How Great Art Thou to the Bee Gees' Staying Alive. Keith is an artist of great range and technique. After admiring his Facebook videos for a long time, I got to meet him at the Chet Atkins Appreciation Society convention in Nashville last summer. So this next song shows just how delicate and beautiful his music can be. Let's cut. He is joined by his son Nathan on ukulele. All right, that song you just heard was Keith Miller's cover of In My Life by the Beatles. Today I'm joined by Keith himself via telephone. So many of your pieces are for solo guitar. Why did you decide to record In My Life as a duet?
Well, my son, it was Father's Day, I should say, last year. We filmed that in the backyard, and I'd been playing around with this 1928 National Triolean tenor guitar. It's a little steel resonator, and I had posted some pictures online, and folks wanted to know what it sounded like. So my son does a rendition of In My Life, and I worked up kind of a duet version of that on the Triolean, on the little tenor guitar. And as a Father's Day gift, my son joined me in the backyard, and we just sat down, and it was a beautiful day, and played that while the birds sang, and it turned out to be a very lovely experience.
Yeah, those two instruments definitely blend well together, as do you and Nathan's guitar styles. So I know you and Nathan collaborated on a full-length album called Music Speaks. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the full title is based off of a Hans Christian Andersen quote. It says, "Where words fail, music speaks." And the project actually got its birth with my son's Scout project. He was looking for an Eagle Scout project at the time. And he has autism. He's high functioning on the autism spectrum. He has an older brother who's on the opposite end of the spectrum, who's nonverbal. And so we thought we would do something that kind of benefited that particular cause, and it was something that we felt like my son Nathan would have a unique perspective on and be able to kind of represent that well. We started this project and we collaborated with Autism Speaks, a national organization that raises awareness for autism. They raise funds for it as well. And for this, the album that you spoke of, we have, it's a collaborative work. We have many different musicians on there. Nathan and I are on there. I have one song that I recorded with guitarist Phil Kagi. Nathan also has a guitar piece that he did with John Knowles, who is a friend of Chet Atkins and won a Grammy for arranging the entertainer for Chet. He does a classical duet with John on the CD, and he also does a solo ukulele cover of Jake Shimabukuro's Dragon. Mm-hmm. In addition to those folks, we also have, as I mentioned, Phil Kagi, Doyle Dykes, and some other folks that you may or may not. They're kind of emerging artists that we're friends with and have crossed paths with on the internet and here in person as well. So all the funds that we raised from the project have gone to Autism Speaks, and it's just been a really rewarding project altogether. We've been doing that since 2014 now.
Mm. Do you have any plans for a follow-up album to Where Words Fail, Music Speaks?
Probably not. Not for that project itself. I'm looking to try to get my son Nathan a solo project recorded. He plays out a lot these days, and folks are always asking for some kind of a CD from him. And I'm also looking to do something similar to that, maybe a cover CD, or it's still kind of a project that's sort of in my mind at this point. You've seen the Facebook videos. You give you a kind of an idea of what I'm thinking about doing, maybe taking some of the ones that have the best responses on there and going into the studio and recording those for an album.
So I'm just wondering, when did you get started with guitar?
I started when I was 6 years old. It was 1972, and I wanted to play before then. My family, my dad played guitar, and all of my great uncles, and I had probably about 12 in all, that each of them played different instruments or they sang. They were all very musical. I come from a very musical family, so I wanted to play even before I was 6. My mom said, I can still remember her saying, "Why don't you wait until you can read?" and I didn't quite wait till I could read. She took me in right at the beginning of my first grade year. I took lessons for about 6 months, and we really couldn't afford to keep them up. But I hung on to what I learned and just added to that through the years.
When do you pick a song to arrange for solo guitar?
Well, there's a lot that goes on with that. Folks ask me what inspires me to play the songs that I play, and I always tell them that I play the soundtrack of my life. I think back, I've got a very good memory. I can remember before I was 6 years old, probably 4 and 5 years old. I remember some isolated moments. I remember listening to the radio even back then and hearing, bands like Three Dog Night and the Beatles and folks like that. And so these songs, they left an impression on me. And I'll go back and I'll think on those songs, and I'll think about the times that they represented in my life. And it just inspires me. I want to sit down and put my spin on it to communicate it. And that's one of the things I do. Another thing I do is I play a lot for my church, and I always think about how, what kind of songs would best serve the purpose that I'm playing for. So I'll approach that prayerfully and choose a song and work it out into an arrangement.
As far as all these, you have probably arranged hundreds of songs. Are there any ones in particular that you're very proud of?
I don't know. I have some that I enjoy playing, and I never tire of playing. I don't know if that's a feeling of pride or more just an enjoyment that I take in the song itself. And one in particular actually taught me how to fingerpick when I was about 12 years old. I had those basic chords I'd learned when I was 6. And my brother had a 8-track tape of Kansas, And I put that on and heard Dust in the Wind. And the intro to that thing just sounded like magic to me. And I wanted to play it so badly. And I figured out the chords just from listening to the tape. And sort of faked it. I pretended I could finger pick. And before long, I'd say within a year or two, I was actually playing the pattern that I was hearing. And I still play that song to this day. It's gone through a lot of different changes as far as the arrangement itself and the way I play it. But I still enjoy playing that one. And I would say record the Edmund Fitzgerald. I enjoy playing that one. And I found a way to kind of tell a story with just music, no words. And that's a song that's really highly dependent upon the words. If you don't have the words, you don't know what the story's about. And so it was a real challenge. And I found a way to kind of communicate the story without words. And so I enjoy telling that story with the guitar.
Which Ella Fitzgerald song did you just mention again?
It's actually called The Record of Edmund Fitzgerald, and it's by Gordon Lightfoot. You may have seen the video for that one. The video really turned out nicely. It was one of those surprises. I didn't know even where I was going to film, and I filmed out in Charleston Harbor, and it just had the feel of the song and the story behind the song.
All right, so let's take a listen to that cover of Gordon Lightfoot's The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzpatrick. All right, that song you just heard was Keith Miller's cover of Gordon Lightfoot, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I am joined by Keith himself today. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Keith.
Thank you. It's a real privilege. Thank you.
So that was a beautiful song. I really loved what you did with that arrangement. So, can you talk me through how you made that?
Sure. It's a song I've been drawn to it for years. It came out, I think, around 1975, and it's based on a shipwreck that took place on Lake Michigan. And it was the ship itself was the Edmund Fitzgerald. It was a freighter, and there were 29 sailors that died on that ship, and it sank in 1974 in November. And the story is written by, or the song itself was written by Gordon Lightfoot, and it really kind of chronicles the from beginning to end, from the time that it took out to waters until the storm came, and then during the storm, and it talks about how the folks knew that they probably wouldn't make it, and if they'd only had 15 miles behind them further, they probably would have made it back into port, but they didn't. And it happened, like I said, in 1974. You would think, from listening to the story and listening to the song and the way it's told, it would have been something that happened in the 1800s, but it was fairly contemporary. But the song itself is powerful, and it stuck with me. But you can hear sort of the theme itself is fairly repetitive from a music standpoint. It's the lyrics that change. And what I did was I tried to find ways to be able to change the music itself, keep the theme, but change the music to kind of reflect what was happening in the song, and create the storm and create the sinking and the whole feeling. One of the nicest things that happened as a result of me recording this and putting it out on Facebook was I got contacted by one of the chief engineer, his daughter. He was aboard Edmund Fitzgerald. She wasn't, but he was, and he perished. And she contacted me and told me that it meant a lot to her. And, when you get that kind of feedback, it makes it all worth it. It really does.
Yeah, just knowing you've really touched someone like that must be a great feeling.
And it's one of these things you just never guessed that it would even be heard by someone who had a direct connection with the shipwreck. But the Shipwreck Museum of the Great Lakes, I believe they're based up in Michigan. They saw the video and they posted it, and I think that's how she found it. Yeah, it was quite a surprise, and it was very rewarding.
So, have you had any other memorable music moments, like at a gig or someone trying to get in touch with you through Facebook?
I have. I as I mentioned with the CD that I did with my son Nathan, we just asked folks to be a part of what we were doing, and we didn't know. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. I had recorded this song back in 2001 called Desert Rain, and I wrote it myself, and it was based off of what I'd been listening to. One of my favorite guitarists, a guy named Phil Keggy, and I've been listening to him since the 80s, and he's been around since the late 60s. He's just a pioneer in Christian music, and he's a pioneer in fingerstyle guitar as well. He's an extraordinary player, and I'd seen him in concert, but I'd never really had an opportunity to talk with him or anything like that. Well, I recorded this song when I went to Atlanta to record my son, and so I had it, and I thought, Phil Kagi was the inspiration for this thing. I'm going to send it to him. I'm going to tell him what we're doing. And I didn't think any more about it. I figured it probably got lost in the email black hole, and oh well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. One Saturday morning, my phone rings, and I looked down, and it was a number from Franklin, Tennessee, and I'm like, who do I know in Franklin? And I almost didn't answer it. I thought it might be Google trying to update my information or something. But I thought, I'm going to go ahead and answer it. And I did. And this voice came across that was familiar. It says, "Hi, this is Phil Kagi." And I just about dropped my phone. That was was quite a shock to me.
That's
And
incredible.
he told me he'd heard my song and he liked it, and he wanted to know what I wanted him to do with it. And of course, I said anything you want. And he took the song into his own home studio and recorded his portion on there and turned my solo into a duet, and got it back to me in maybe like a week's time. And when I heard it, it just floored me. You know, you just never think that something like that's going to happen. You're going to get an opportunity to record one of your heroes, and that happened, and that was quite a memorable event for us.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, Kagi is a phenomenal player. Just being
He
able to work
really
with
is.
him.
I mean, I can't say enough about him. Yeah, the other big one was Doyle Dykes playing on there for us. He played the very first song on the CD, and if there's one man I admired, not just because of his guitar, but just because of who he is, it would be Doyle Dykes. And I'd written a song years ago about my oldest son with autism, and I'm not much of a vocalist. That's why I play instrumentals. But my wife had recorded this. She had sang it in church, and she recorded it. And I had it on a cassette tape. Mm-hmm. And she recorded this probably, 15 years ago or better. And but I still had the cassette tape of that church service that she sang it. And I sent it to Doyle Dykes' daughter, Haley, who is also a phenomenal musician and just an incredible vocalist. And she agreed to record that song, and it made it onto the CD as well. It's called My Prayers. And she did such a beautiful job on there. But that was just another one of those moments. And it all came from us trying to do something for others. Now, I really believe we probably got the biggest blessing out of it ourselves, just from folks like that coming on board and helping. But I think that's the way it's supposed to work. You try to do for others, and that's where you find the reward.
That's definitely true. A lot of times when you're doing something to help others, people end up coming in to help you as well. So what was it like working with John Knowles on that album too? Because he's one of four of the one of the four people Chet Atkins picked as CG certified guitar players, right?
That's right. John, that's another one of these things that you don't think will ever happen. And John's become a friend of ours, and you probably had a chance to see him, or maybe even meet him at the Chet Atkins convention. He's an absolute icon there. Folks just they really look up to him, and for good reason. And so did we. We had the opportunity to go to a retreat up at Myrtle Beach. It was a guitar weekend, and John was giving a master class. And that's really where we had the opportunity to kind of get one-on-one with him and talk about our ideas and things like that. And I told him about this CD project, and he said he'd love to give us a song. And he said, under one condition. I'm like, this is John Knowles, whatever you say, John. And he says, I'd like to record with Nathan. And I looked at Nathan, and I said, if you don't want to, I will. But of course, Nathan knew I was joking, and of course he was excited to have that opportunity. So Nathan's had an opportunity to record with the CGP, and even better, we have the opportunity to call him for him. That's been a real blessing to us.
Wow, that must have been such an incredible moment for Nathan. Just get to, 'cause John Knowles, he's probably one of the best guitarists alive right now, especially in that style.
Oh yes, he's phenomenal. He's just got such a. You watch him and you think, oh, I can do that. He has. That's because some of the very best make it look so easy, and he has a way of making it look easy. And then when you sit and try to dissect what he's doing and try to copy or even come close, you realize that there's a lot more going on than meets the eye and ear. And John just does it with such grace, and he's truly gifted.
Yeah, I think all the greats definitely have that style where they just make it look easy. Like earlier today, since we were talking about Atkins, I saw a video of Chet playing with the guitarist Stanley Jordan. Stanley Jordan is... Oh, what'd you say?
No, I'm familiar. I actually saw a show with Stanley on there, and I believe that Chet was part of of that show. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, it's fun. Yeah, I mean, it was just incredible because they both have such different styles. Because Stanley Jordan, of course, is all very, finger tapping, playing the guitar almost like it's a piano. And Chet Atkins, that more traditional kind of country style. But they're just playing together and just looked so easy, even though what they were both
Yeah.
doing was insanely difficult.
Well, Chet, that was one of the things I really admired about him was his ability to. He obviously defined fingerstyle guitar, but he had such an appreciation for all different types of music. He loved even pop music. Yeah, he became friends with Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits. They cut a CD together called "Read My Licks," and he was also friends with Andre Segovia, of all people. And Andre Segovia is notorious for being such a stickler about the classical style, but somehow he looked past all those conventions and was able to see the brilliance that Chet had to offer in what he was doing, and they became friends as well. But yeah, Chet just had a way of being able to see brilliance and be able to promote it, and he did that with Stanley Jordan. He did it with Earl Klug, Jerry Reed. There's just, so many folks, and John Knowles even. As we just mentioned, but that was a neat thing about Chet, and that's one of the things that I embrace as well. I try to cross genres and not get pigeonholed in just one style of music. There's so much to be gained from other genres.
There's so much great music out there, as long as you kind of just open your ears to it. Like someone like Stanley Jordan, I would just never expect, especially at that how old Chet was at that time, to really be into him. But of course, he ends up being a massive fan, and that just kind of goes to show you that just kind of open-mindedness that he had.
Right.
So
that's definitely worth emulating.
now, outside of Chet, are there any other guitarists who are big influences on your music?
Well, I mentioned Doyle Dykes. He's probably number one. And Phil Keaggy is. He was one of the first that I heard that just was magic to my ears. I still don't understand everything that he does. I'm just thankful that there's a Phil Keaggy to do it. Long before then, back in early '70s when I started playing, I would listen to folks like James Taylor. Still do love him. Got to meet him a couple of years ago. Jim Croce, John Denver, Harry Chapin, folks like that. They were singer-songwriters. And back then I thought I could sing because my mom told me I could. That's the thing, your mom likes your voice. So, but there is such a thing as a tape recorder, so I eventually heard myself sing, and I'm grateful for my mom. But I know I'm not going to be a singer-songwriter. But I love those guys, and they had such an influence to this day, really, on what I do. And if you scroll through my list of videos, you'll see videos pop up from James Taylor and from Jim Croce and Harry Chapin. They still carry over into my set when I'm out playing them out for folks.
So, now as far as personal, I noticed that on one of your videos you mentioned that your old Scoutmaster had a big influence on your life and music. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I guess I came along. I was born in '66, and like I said, I can remember a little bit of the Beatles, kind of the Let It Be. I remember some of that stuff from the early '70s, but I sort of missed the ride. I missed the big wave of Beatles music. 64, 65, all Rubber Soul, all that stuff. And it wasn't until I was a Boy Scout, probably about 13, 14 years old, we would go on these scouting trips. And my Scoutmaster, he was a young man, and that was his time. The Beatles were right up his alley. And what he would do is he would say, okay, you guys can bring a tape and listen to it, but you got to listen to more than mine. So if we took a trip to go camping or hiking or what have you, we ended up listening to the Magical Mystery Tour, or Rubber Soul, or one of these Hard Day's Night. And all that music just stuck with me. I remember hearing Norwegian Wood, and I just loved the sound of that little lick. And I went home and just from memory. I didn't even have the song to listen to. Just from memory, I figured it out. And next time we were on a camping trip, I played it, and my scoutmaster was like, where did you hear that? I'm like, in your car. So I've gone back and I've relearned a bunch of those Beatles tunes. I think I did a medley and sort of dedicated it to him for exposing me to that. But his name was Wade, and not only was the Beatles a big influence from him, but he also listened to some really high classical stuff, the Baroque trumpet music and stuff like that. And when you're young and you hear that, and a guy that you admire listens to it, you want to listen to it too, and you want to see why he likes it. And I did. I understood it completely, and that music has stuck with me as well.
Yeah. So I know your son Nathan is also very involved in Boy Scouts. I know he achieved the rank of Eagle. That's quite an achievement. I actually am an Eagle Scout myself, so it's always good to see that. What was his scouting experience like?
It was the best. It really was. I just retired from the Air Force, and Nathan was the age of right at 10, 11 years old, almost turning 11. And I talked to him about Scouts because I was an Eagle Scout also, and those were some of the best memories from my childhood. So I told him about what we did, and he was excited about it. So we went to a trip about a mile from the house, and I signed up as an assistant scoutmaster. And I like to say I sort of earned my Eagle a second time with him because I took every step that he took. I was right there, and it was just great father-son bonding time. We had so much fun, and I've got all these pictures from all these different campouts and hiking trips, and we still laugh about some of the experiences that we had on those trips and some of the jokes the boys would play, and some of the things that didn't seem so fun or funny at the time, we look back at them now and we just laugh. And it was definitely time well spent. And he got his Eagle Scout, and I was real proud of him for that. But if it hadn't been anything but just hiking and camping and the good times that we had, it would still have been more than worth it.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the hiking and camping in and of itself is great, because I just remember from my experience, since I'm from just right outside of Washington, D.C., all that Boy Scout stuff was really the first time I really went out into kind of the wilderness and nature for extended periods, and that was always such a great experience. So I'm curious, what was your son's Eagle project?
Well, we had talked about doing the Music Speaks project for his Eagle Scout, but when he actually conceived the idea for that, he was only a Star Scout. Mm-hmm. And as you know, you have to be a wife working on your Eagle when you start the project. So we didn't want to wait on the Music Speaks project. We just felt like it's too important, too good of an idea, and we said, well, we're not going to make that an Eagle Scout project, but we're still going to do it. So we went ahead and did our Music Speaks project with the CD and all. But that meant when he made Live Scout, he had to come up with a new idea for an Eagle Scout project. And then what he did was he created a food bank called the Good Turn Food Bank, based off the Scout slogan, Do a Good Turn Daily. And it was something that the church that sponsored our Scout troop had to sign off on and give us basically a room, and he had to raise money for shelves and then have people have food drives. He used his musical talent and a local coffee shop to be able to do a lot of that stuff, to promote it and be able to do the food drives. And we worked a lot of the local musicians into the project as well. And it was worthwhile. But I still think that even though it wasn't his Eagle project, the Music Speaks project is definitely the milestone as far as we're concerned. That was the one that really, I think, taught him and me a lot in the process. And we got a lot from it.
Right. Again, if you're just tuning in, we are currently having an interview with acoustic guitarist Keith Miller from North Carolina. You're a very prolific arranger. You must have a couple hundred arrangements of songs, at least, on YouTube and Facebook. How do you just put out so much music?
It's just the love of it. And I used to try to teach guitar. I don't read music because I started playing guitar when I was 6 years old. I couldn't even read words when I started playing. So music, notes was out of the question at that point for me anyway. And I believe that the real gift, people talk about gifting with music or art or any kind of thing that you love to do. I really believe that the key ingredient to the gift is the love of it. And that's definitely true for me. It's something that I love to do. I enjoy it. Even if no one listened, I would still love it. I would still do it. So it's not. It doesn't feel like work to me. I sit down and I relive moments of my life when I arrange these songs for guitar. When I'm able to play them, if I connect with folks and they get that little bit of nostalgia or peace from what I'm doing, that's all the more. All the more makes it better for us. So that's kind of what drives me in that direction.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. You've been a great guest. I was wondering, where can listeners find your music?
Well, right now, my Facebook page, you can look up Keith Miller, and the little word that goes on my music page is Grateful Guitar, all one word, Grateful Guitar. So if you type in Keith Miller and Grateful Guitar, you're sure to find me on there. You can also find me on YouTube. If you look up Keith Miller, and Hamilton Mill is the tag for my page there. My son also, he goes by Nathan Gabriel. It's his stage name. I have a playlist for Keith Miller and for Nathan Gabriel, so you can see some of his videos as well. He's done some really nice ones. So you have to check out his cover of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. It's one of my favorites. But you can find us on there. I'm also on Reverb Nation. And that's pretty much it. You may be able to Google me and have me pop up here and there as well.
Of course, your Facebook page, I believe you just search Keith Miller Guitar. That should come up as well. Now, one quick question.
It should. Grateful Guitar is what I have on my music page. So if you just type in Keith Miller and then Grateful Guitar, all one word there, it should bring you to me.
So now, one quick question before we go away. How did you get started posting videos of yourself playing on YouTube and Facebook?
That's a really good question, because I was thinking about what sort of drove me to do that. I think it was just a desire to share. I always encourage people to just do what you love and share it with as many people as you possibly can. It wasn't really I'm going to get discovered or anything like that. It was really more how can I reach more people? How can I be a light? There's so much negativity out there. You scroll through your Facebook and you see it every day, and it's easy to get kind of beat down. You may even want to unplug from it. But I think we each have a choice to either be a part of that negativity or put something out there that's diametrically opposed to it. That's really what I'm trying to do. Also trying to just be a light. Johann Sebastian Bach said, "The chief and final aim of all music is none other than the glory of God and the refreshment of the soul." And if Bach looked at it that way, I kind of think he was on to something. And I will pursue that. I don't know if I will always achieve it, but I will definitely pursue it. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with these videos and recordings, is just bring light, refreshment to the soul, and glorify God while I'm doing that.
All right, thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope to have you again sometime soon. It's been great. Again, if you want to hear more of Keith's music, you can find him on YouTube and Facebook.